How does somebody go from this to becoming the biggest streamer of all time? Welcome to InkThinks. This is the Rise of Creator series, where we break down the YouTube and streaming journeys of your favorite content creators. Hit like if you want to see more of these, and let me know who I should cover next in the comments below. So without any further ado, let's take a look at Ludwig and see how he got to where he is today. Ludwig Anders Agren was born on July 6, 1995, and grew up in Hollis, New Hampshire in a French-American bilingual household. From a very young age, Ludwig always had a passion for entertaining people and making them laugh. One of the first places he remembers this spark of interest igniting was in the 5th grade. His favorite teacher of all time, Mrs. Amber, often had the class do a writing exercise called Rambles, where the students would have to write for 30 minutes straight. At the end of the class, they had an option to share what they wrote, and Ludwig remembers very specifically making a joke in his story that the class found hysterical, about a kid who told his mother that he would wash the dishes and take a shower at the same time. Somehow, this joke was such a hit that it inspired Ludwig to keep entertaining and seeking to make people happy. This passion carried on throughout his school career, where he competed in a talent show to become Mr. High School, and found that he had a love for performing as well. This led to him starring in a high school production of Legally Blonde the musical, and joining the choir. Around this time, Ludwig started to find Call of Duty commentary channels on YouTube, such as Hutch, CNanners, or Woody's Gamertag. This was around mid-2011 when Call of Duty commentary videos were huge on YouTube, and it seemed like everyone and their grandma was giving it a try. Thinking that he would do well in the niche, at the age of 16, Ludwig saved up $100 and bought a screen recorder. He combined this with a cheap microphone that he borrowed from his mom and created his very first YouTube channel, which he named The Zany Sidekick. He posted his first video on July 24, 2011, which he titled Starting Out Right. He only ever posted a couple of videos on the channel, which all revolve around commentating Call of Duty gameplay. A commonly overlooked international law of YouTube content creation is that your first 20 or so videos will be cringy and make you want to die when you go back and watch them years later. And judging by Ludwig's reaction when he reacted to them on stream, this also applies to him. That said, in spite of that, these videos do lay an important groundwork for Ludwig's growth, which is a reinforcement of his passion for entertaining. Ludwig wanted to follow this passion as far as it would take him and even dreamt of becoming a talk show host. He set off to college at Arizona State University to get a dual degree in English literature and journalism and mass communication, thinking that this would somehow help him get his foot in the door of becoming the next Conan O'Brien. While at ASU, he started to look for more ways to perform. He tried joining a fraternity, but got kicked out. So he also tried joining an elite a cappella group on campus, but blew his second callback and didn't make the cut. So this led him to comedy clubs, which was a thriving community at ASU. He tried out for 2 different clubs, one called Bear in Mind Improv and the other called Farside Sketch Comedy, but unfortunately didn't make the cut for either of those, putting him 0 for 4 at getting a chance to entertain people in college. This all changed, however, when a friend named Forbes, yes, that's his real name, brought him on to start up a new comedy club called Tempe Late Night. The reason that I bring this up is that despite the passion of the people working there, for the first semester, the entire Tempe Late Night team performed for only one person, who was also the person in charge of the production of the show. This is all going to come back thematically later, I promise. I'm not just roasting the team. Anyway, this small crowd didn't stop Forbes and Ludwig. They started inviting friends, posting to YouTube, and competing with other local comedy clubs. And it wasn't too long before Tempe Late Night became the largest comedy club at ASU. The success of launching Tempe Late Night filled Ludwig with a confidence that would carry him on into future content creation. But before I get to that content, we need to mention another interest that had crept into Ludwig's life at this time. A game called Super Smash Bros. Melee for the Nintendo GameCube, the best Smash game ever made. Fight me. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this 20-year-old game still has an incredibly passionate following for its high speed and flashy gameplay. In what I'm convinced must have been an accident, Ludwig found the character Jigglypuff really fun and dedicated himself to perfecting the character. He was really gifted at the game and soon became good enough to go toe-to-toe with the top players in the game, like Vro or the rapper extraordinaire Chillin' Dude. That said, while he was incredibly talented at playing the game, he soon found an even greater strength in commentating it. His commentary for the game was unparalleled, and he quickly became a fan-favorite commentator, even taking the position of commentator at major tournaments like Genesis. While he did love the game, his girlfriend at the time really hated the concept of playing video games for a living and wanted him to do something else. So naturally, they broke up, and Ludwig dove headfirst into the Smash community. He began traveling all across the country, where he would go to events to commentate or compete. And the connections that he formed during this time would go on to be incredibly foundational to the content creation career that he would have in the future. One of the most notable of these connections was a player who goes by the name Slime. Slime commentated alongside Ludwig on multiple occasions and soon invited Ludwig to appear on his podcast called the Bad Melee Podcast. As they became closer friends, Ludwig began to admire the content creation that Slime was doing. Something about being able to broadcast yourself to people all around the globe and entertain them really spoke to Ludwig, and he decided to give it a try. He cut his teeth on Twitch by playing the piano. The only issue was that Ludwig only knew how to play about 2 songs that he would constantly cycle between. As a result, he only ended up doing this about 3 times. Ludwig has said that all of his early content, Call of Duty commentary, piano streaming, this, none of it really felt like him. Nothing felt authentic. He decided that he was going to take things a lot more seriously and really pour himself into creating authentic and fun content, regardless of whatever form that took. So he applied to 500 jobs, which isn't an exaggeration. And out of all of those applications, he received one single offer. It was a position as a web editor for Wine and Spirits magazine in Los Angeles. So he packed up everything he had and moved to California. Upon arriving there, he did all of the essentials, moved in, unpacked his stuff, and immediately got fired from his job. He was the web editor, but due to an archaic website structure, he made an error that compromised one of the stories and they let him go. After another 2 months of searching, Ludwig got a job with Snapchat, but no sooner than he joined their team, the entire division was dissolved and he was let go once again. So there he was. He was in a new city, just lost 2 jobs, ended up taking a job at Best Buy to barely make ends meet, and he was a Jigglypuff main. Things were looking pretty rough. After another few months of searching, Ludwig found himself in May of 2017 and decided, screw it. He had exhausted several other avenues for careers and came up blank. All he ever wanted to do in his entire life was create content and entertain people. He wanted to be a talk show host before he realized that talk shows were kind of dumb, so he wanted to be a content creator. He wanted to do anything besides what he was doing then. So on May 16th, 2018, he decided that he was done making excuses. He would never get good at creating content if he never started. So he pushed the stresses of daily life to the side and started streaming. These early streams consisted primarily of Super Smash Bros. Melee, Mario Party 2, and Dark Souls, but he progressively introduced other games like Pokemon into his schedule. For the first month on the platform, he only averaged around 16 viewers, which for a new streamer is a pretty good amount. A lot of the viewers were largely there because they knew Ludwig from his Melee career, but even on days where Ludwig hardly had any viewers, he didn't let that number dissuade him from continuing. He was used to performing for even just one person if it came to it. See, I told you that would come back later. All things considered, he did incredibly well for a new streamer. Whether it was his charisma, his status in the Smash scene, or his alter ego as the zany sidekick, people really enjoyed watching his content. In the first month, he gained 84 followers and 23 subscribers. And so he kept at it, streaming over 100 hours each month, and by the time his 6-month mark rolled around on Twitch, he was averaging 281 viewers per stream, and he was making around $3,000 each month. By the time his 10-month mark rolled around in February of 2019, Ludwig had well over 5,000 followers, 700 subscribers, and was still making a solid income. In the real world outside of Twitch, Ludwig was fired from another job, this time one that he had picked up at a local vape shop. So he decided to finally take the plunge and go full-time on Twitch. He continued to make a career out of streaming for months, and he quickly developed a dedicated fan base. Maintaining a solid posting schedule, he continued creating content until early March of 2021, where he took a much-needed break. He made sure to do all of the things that mental health experts suggest to avoid burnout. He went and saw his family, spent some quality time with his dog, got appendicitis. In the end, he was gone for about 2 weeks and wanted to return to streaming with a lot of momentum. He had an idea. He wanted to do a long stream called a subathon, which is an extra long live stream that can typically last a day or two, where fans of the channel subscribe, and each time they do, it increases the stream by a small amount of time. Streamers typically put a cap on the length of the stream, around 48 to 72 hours. But Ludwig severely underestimated the internet and decided to have the subathon be uncapped, meaning that it could go on as long as people kept subscribing. Each time someone decided to support the channel and subscribe, it added 10 seconds to the timer. And before he knew it, what he had planned to be a 1 or 2 day stream had extended into several weeks of non-stop streaming. In order to accommodate the insanity of the Twitch community, Ludwig set up a bed in his streaming room that he would sleep on while he was still live on camera. He had his friends and moderators help entertain the Twitch audience if he ever had to step away or sleep, and on the stream itself, he would cook, sleep, work out, dance, play chess, and more. He started this subathon with around 30,000 subscribers, which is a wildly impressive number, and he was only anticipating to stream for about 24 to 48 hours. But by the end of the stream, he had gone for well over 700 hours and had streamed for a full 31 days. Every time he got close to having the timer run out, the people in the community would band together and keep him going. He ended this month of live streaming with 282,000 subscribers, over 250,000 subscribers more than when he started. This helped him pass Tyler Ninja Blevins, who had previously held the record with around 270,000 subscribers, and became the #1 largest Twitch streamer in history. There is no understating how incredible of an accomplishment this is. He went from a guy between jobs in LA to the single biggest streamer in the history of the internet in a matter of a few years. But how? There are millions of new streamers on Twitch. So what was it about Ludwig specifically that brought on his growth? Well, for starters, his reputation in the Melee scene certainly helped a ton. There's no denying that. But past that fact, Ludwig has an intentionality behind his content that I think often goes unnoticed. There are so many aspiring streamers out there who take an outdated approach to content creation and they simply turn on the camera and recording software and then play video games for hours every single week, hoping that they'll pick up traction. But this is a doomed strategy from the beginning, and Ludwig was incredibly aware of that. He knew that he needed to be streaming for content, meaning that he would plan each stream in incredible detail to find the most interesting things that he could cover, and then stream it in such a way that he could put it on YouTube, which has much better discoverability. Ludwig cites Small Ant, who we talked about earlier this month on the channel, as another great example of the same kind of mentality. Look at the difference between the zany sidekick and modern-day Ludwig. It isn't even close. And yet Ludwig's comparison with his past self is a great demonstration of how he looks compared to the millions of other streamers trying the exact same thing. There's an old French proverb that Ludwig is probably familiar with due to growing up in a French-American household, and I find it to be incredibly applicable to his situation. In the original French, the proverb says, "Si vous pouvez comprendre ce que je dis, alors vous savez qu'il n'y a pas de proverbe et que je suis un menteur." While an exact translation is difficult, what this boils down to is the sentiment that those who stay still stay behind, while those who innovate and are critical of their own creations achieve success. Ludwig tried a bunch of different types of content until he found something that felt genuine and something that worked with his personality in a meaningful way. By capitalizing on what he knew worked for him and refining his content and his personality until he had something that was unique, Ludwig was able to grow a fan base that was willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to see more of him. And when all of these different aspects of his life come together, it's almost no wonder that the greatest streamer of all time ended up being the zany sidekick. Thank you for watching.
It's been the Zany Sidekick here in action, bringing you Call of Duty gameplay, and now I've got to go to do things, so you heroes get back to what you do. You get 'em. Go get 'em, Tiger. Rawr.